Hi, I'm Bethany,
And I'm Jesus.
and we did Chapter 7, Receiving, Storage, and Inventory. So receiving is the point at which food service operations inspect the products and take legal ownership and physical possession of the items ordered. This ensures food and supplies delivered match pre-established specifications for quality and quantity. A well-designed receiving process is important to cost and quality control. Therefore, it should be carefully planned and monitored. A good receiving program should include clearly written policies and procedures on each of the following components: coordination with other departments, training for receiving personnel, proper supervision, security measures, and documentation procedures. A poorly planned receiving program includes the following: inflated prices, double pricing, substandard quality, mislabeled merchandise, spoiled or damaged merchandise, and theft. Thus, a poorly planned and executed receiving program results in financial loss for the organization. Coordination with other departments. So the receiving function has to be coordinated with other departments and functions within the food service organization. Purchasing, production, and accounting are the three key areas that need a well-coordinated working relationship with receiving personnel. The purchasing department, in coordination with the food manager, defines the standards of quality that the receiving personnel use to inspect the product at the time of receiving. The purchasing department is also usually responsible for scheduling deliveries through contractual agreements. The production department depends on the receiving unit to get needed food and supplies in the proper storage areas in time for scheduled production. In many organizations, the accounting department is responsible for processing the billing of food and supply merchandise and supplying purchases. Receiving records must be completed and submitted to accounting in a timely fashion so payments are made in time. Prompt payment allows organizations to take advantage of discounts and avoid any late payment penalties. The accounting department also handles any discrepancies between what was ordered and what was delivered. So, in a perfect world, the responsibility of the receiving personnel products would be assigned to specific, competent, and well-trained employees. But this is usually not the case. Generally, whoever is working when a delivery arrives is who will handle it. But regardless of who performs the receiving function, proper inspection and record keeping must be clearly understood. Desirable qualifications for a receiving personnel include knowledge of food quality and the ability to recognize unacceptable products, and also have an understanding of the proper documentation procedures.
So the facilities, equipment, and sanitation. So this is where the physical arrangement and availability of supplies in the receiving area influence the efficiency of the product. The area should be large enough to accommodate an entire delivery at one time, and you need to have a plan for pest control in case that you guys start getting flies or other pests. And you need to minimize cross traffic through the production area, easy access to storage facilities, and the delivering area needs to be close to the delivery docks. So security. Clearly define and consistently enforce security measures prevent theft and deliberate contamination of food supplies. After the receiving personnel has confirmed that the order meets the specifications, the invoice can be signed and delivery should then be moved immediately to the proper storage. By doing this, the chance of theft and quality deterioration are minimized. The doors to the area should always be kept locked. Some facilities always keep the doors locked with a doorbell or buzzer system for delivery personnel to use when they arrive, and only authorized personnel should have access to the receiving area. This is very important due to the relatively recent terrorist attacks and cases of deliberate product tampering. So the receiving process. The receiving process has 5 key steps. The first one is you have to physically inspect the delivery and check it against the purchase order. You have to inspect the delivery against the invoice, accept order if quantities and qualities specifications are met, and complete receiving records, and lastly, transfer goods to the appropriate storage. There are two methods that they use for receiving process. The first one being the blind method, which is not that common, but the most common is the invoice receiving method, which is when the receiving clerk checks the delivered items against the original purchase order and notes any deviations. Some of the tips for inspecting the deliveries: you have to inspect them immediately upon arrival. You have to check the frozen foods for any signs of thawing or burning. And if you have any fish or anything like that, for any weird smells, has to have like a fresh ocean smell to it. Storage is probably the most important thing in the restaurant or any food service. There are three basic types of storage: the dry storage, refrigerated storage, and the freezer storage. And so the dry storage, you want it to be a cool, dry, and properly ventilated area. For your refrigerated storage, such as your fruits and vegetables, you want to keep them from 40 to 45 degrees. Your meats, poultry, dairy, and eggs between 32 and 40 degrees. And your frozen products, you want to keep them between 0 and -10 degrees. And one method that is that they use to ensure fresh products is the FIFO method, which is first in and first out. So the new shipment that you get goes towards the back, and then the old product gets pushed forward so that they get used first.
So, inventory records and control. Accurate records are essential to inventory control and provide a basis for purchasing and cost analysis. The exact procedures and documentation forms used vary from place to place depending on their policies. But an adequate control system requires that a record be made of all food products and supplies that are received and stored. As mentioned earlier, all incoming supplies should be inspected and recorded on a receiving record form. A journal is usually kept to list the items received with the date of the receipt. This can also be used as a receiving record. Regardless of the type of receiving form used, the information should be checked against the purchase order, the delivery slip, and the invoice to be sure the merchandise has been received as it was ordered and to ensure that the price is correct.
So there are two types of inventory: the perpetual and physical inventory. Perpetual inventory is a method of continuous tracking of products held in storage. So these are items received and that are recorded from the invoices, and this is also the amounts that are added to the previous balance or what is on hand. And you also have your physical inventory, which is an exact count of product held in storage. So this can be taken at the end of each month, or it can be done 2 to 3 times a year, depending on the food establishment. And management of inventory is practiced both to determine the quality and quantity of food on hand and in storage. And some of the questions that we had was, how do food establishments keep food from going bad? What are some methods or practices that they use to ensure the food will be fresh? What are some problems that food establishments face when dealing with distributors? Why is it important to keep the receiving area clean and in good shape? Why are good security measures important in receiving, storage, and inventory?